Multiple case study research. Welcome back to the Research Methods Cafe, the podcast where we take complex research designs and make them both understandable and useful. Today's episode is all about multiple case study research. If you've ever wondered, why would a researcher spend time on not just one but several cases at the same time, this episode is for you. Over the next half hour, we'll cover what multiple case study research actually is, how it's conducted step by step, what the main payoffs are, and of course the pitfalls you'll want to avoid. Think of it as your complete guided tour through one of qualitative research's most fascinating designs. Part 1. What is multiple case study research? Let's start with the basics. A multiple case study, sometimes called a multi-case study, is a research design where a set of individual cases are studied together not just for their own sake but in order to understand a broader phenomenon. Robert Stake, one of the leading voices in case study research, uses the term quintin to describe that broader entity. The quintin could be an educational program, a social service initiative, a policy, or even a social phenomenon like sibling rivalry or community resilience. Point is this: we want to understand something larger, but we approach it through its concrete, particular examples. So in a multiple case study, each individual case, say a school in one country or a clinic in another, has its own story to tell. But the official interest is in what emerges when those stories are placed side by side. Why is this important? 'Cause no single case can ever capture the whole. Multiple case study research lets us compare, contrast, and connect. It allows us to see both the uniqueness of each situation and the patterns that cut across them. In Stake's words, multiple case study research is a special effort to examine something having lots of cases, parts, or members in order to better understand the whole. And that brings us to the practical question: how do we actually do it? Part 2. The steps of multiple case study research. Conducting a multiple case study is not just multiplying single case studies. It's an intentional process. Let me walk you through the main stages. Step 1. Define the quintin. The very first step is identifying the quintin, that larger phenomenon or entity you want to understand. Without clarity on the quintin, the study risks becoming a random collection of stories. For example, imagine you're studying inclusive education programs across different countries. The quintin isn't just education in country A or teachers in country B. It's the shared phenomenon of inclusive education practice across contexts. Step 2. Select cases. Next, you decide which cases to include. Case selection is crucial. Do you want the most typical cases? The most contrasting ones? Or perhaps the ones that will most enhance your understanding? Stake often advises that atypical cases can sometimes provide the richest insights. Point isn't to be statistically representative, it's to be strategically illuminating. Step 3. Design each case study. Each case needs its own design. That means clearly defining its boundaries, where the case begins and ends, identifying the context, and formulating case-specific research questions. Even within a multiple case study, each case deserves deep attention. You don't want to treat them superficially, as if they were just data points. Step 4. Collect data. Now comes the fieldwork. This usually involves interviews, observations, reviewing documents, and sometimes collecting artifacts. Qualitative case study work relies on thick description. That means giving rich, detailed accounts of the lived experience of the case. Step 5. Analyze within each case. Before rushing to compare across cases, you honor each case on its own terms. You look for its themes, its story, its unique dynamics. This is a safeguard against what Stake calls the case quintin dilemma, the tension between respecting the uniqueness of each case and serving the larger purpose of the study. Step 6. Cross-case analysis. Only after individual analysis do you move to comparison. Here, the researcher looks across cases to see what's similar, what's different, and what patterns emerge. Stake describes 3 main approaches. Track I, emphasizing the case findings themselves. Track 2, merging findings into shared themes. Track 3, identifying broader factors that cut across cases, sometimes edging toward more formal generalization. Step 7, synthesize and report. Finally, you bring it all together. The report may include individual case narratives, cross-case assertions, and reflections on what the Quinton now looks like in light of the study. The goal is not to erase complexity but to illuminate it, giving readers both the particular stories and the bigger picture. Part 3. The payoffs of multiple case study research. Now that we've walked through the steps, let's talk about why researchers choose this design. What are the payoffs? First, richer understanding. By studying multiple cases, we see patterns and contrasts that a single case could never reveal. It's like switching from a snapshot to a panoramic view. Second, greater credibility. When findings emerge across different cases, readers tend to see them as more trustworthy. Multiple perspectives and triangulation across sites strengthen the study's credibility. Third, policy and practice insights. Dake reminds us that case-specific understanding often informs program administration and policymaking better than abstract generalizations. A minister of education, for example, can make better decisions when they see how a program unfolds in real schools and real communities across different conditions. Fourth, flexibility and complexity. Multiple case study research thrives on diversity. It embraces the messy, complex realities of human life rather than trying to flatten them into one-size-fits-all answers. Part 4. The pitfalls of multiple case study research. Of course, no method is perfect. Multiple case study research comes with its own set of challenges. Pitfall 1. Complexity overload. Managing several cases at once can be overwhelming. Multiple sites, multiple teams, multiple streams of data, it's a lot to juggle. Pitfall 2. Shallow casework. There's a real danger of spreading yourself too thin. If you rush through each case just to get to the cross-case analysis, you risk superficiality. And that undermines the whole study. Pitfall 3. The case Quinton dilemma. This is the epistemological tug-of-war. Do you focus more on the unique life of each case or on the bigger phenomenon? Lean too far in either direction and you lose something valuable. Pitfall 4. Time and resources. Let's be honest, multiple case studies are expensive, time-consuming, and demanding. They often require teams of researchers, long timelines, and sustained funding. Pitfall 5. Weak evidence. Finally, Stake warns that novice case researchers often neglect triangulation, relying too heavily on anecdotes or single informants. Without multiple sources of evidence, the credibility of the study suffers. Closing. So, where does that leave us? Multiple case study research is not about multiplying single cases. It's about orchestrating them. It's about using the chorus of voices, experiences, and context to illuminate a larger phenomenon, the Quinton. Its strength lies in its depth and its breadth. It allows us to honor the uniqueness of each case while still making sense of the bigger picture. But it is not easy. It requires careful design, disciplined analysis, and a constant awareness of its dilemmas. Single case research gives us depth, multiple case research gives us both depth and breadth. It is one of the most demanding yet rewarding designs in the qualitative tradition. And that's the story of multiple case study research. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Research Methods Cafe. If you found it useful, share it with a colleague, a student, or anyone curious about the craft of research. Till next time, keep asking good questions and keep looking at both the trees and the forest.